Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a two-page layout for you here, continuing on with love notes. So this is part 2 of a 5-part series in which I'm creating 5 separate layouts with the love notes series, and I've been having so much fun. I have these adorable photos from New Year's Eve, and this is my granddaughter Ramsey Kate looking like a little old lady in a spa chair. These 3 girls on the left are my granddaughters, 3 of my 8 grandchildren, and then Farron is the birthday girl, the little girl there, and her mother did a New Year's Eve / birthday party for the girls, so they had a sweet spa day. So these are my 3 granddaughters, and then this is Ramsey Kate at the end of the day with her colorful nails, clutching the remote, and she has this red pillow there, and then these colors are so bright. That fuchsia, I'm not going to call it a problem color because it's a beautiful color, but it can sometimes be a problem. So when I have a theme that I want to scrap, I look at our current collection. So we have Sweet Memories here that has a lot of mulberry pink, and then we have Let's Party, which is definitely a possibility with the ballerina in there, but it's a lot of primary colors to work around, so the blues and the greens and the yellows. But Love Notes, I'm working on the series anyway. I love the patterns, and it has the scarlet, the ballerina, the candy apple in it. And there was something about thinking of Berry Sweet with those bears and this being all little girls that I thought I really want to make this work, but I do need to do some work here to sort of figure out the color. Now, often if I have a theme to scrap and I don't quite have the right colors, I don't have any problem creating with a theme, putting those in our D-ring binders and putting labels on them, and I coordinate my papers, my unfinished pages, by theme. So I'll put all birthday in an album and all vacation in an album, and then I will go back later and put photos on those when I have the proper colors and themes, and it works great for me. So earlier in the week, we started the Love Notes series here, and we worked on texture. So we created our own texture background by scoring and inking. We created lots of texture with strips and tearing and clusters and foam tape. So we're going to continue on and talk a little bit more about texture and color, but I do have my Junk Gypsy tray, and I reviewed all of the materials and supplies in great depth in the last video, and I will link that in the description. But we are using the Love Notes bundle, and just in a quick review, we're going to use this little Love Note seal and the Love Note envelope from the Love Notes stamp and thin cut set. So here we have our brand new Rosie. So Rosie launched with our brand new yearly core catalog, and I love Rosie, and I really truly feel like Rosie will help me solve some color issues. So the first thing that I did is I grabbed the red and white heart pattern paper, 3.5 by 12, and I did some tearing on that, and I switched the torn pieces. So I tore the bottoms of 2 3.5 by 12 inch pieces. I reserved the bottom part of that, and I made sure to tear on an angle one way and another way so that they were opposite. And then I'm going to use those on the bottom. You've seen this a lot lately, and in fact, I've used it myself a lot in our gnomes, our winter gnomes. I used something similar, not the same. I want to pull in some pink and start pulling in the pink and put a little strip there, but I don't want to come all the way down. I want to have the torn bit to be a little bit loose. So here's where I'm going to do my problem solving for my color, my problem color, or my beautiful color, my problem color. I'm going to pull in the light side of Rosie and just add one little 1/4 by 12 inch strip in there. Already, just with that, even though I'm going to be doing some more problem solving, just with that strip, it draws in some of that fuchsia color and makes that Rosie color legal. So in my last video, we did a little bit of texturizing finishing of these tags by adding extra flavor with some color strips. So the tags are 2 by 2.5. I did create mine on the Cricut, but it's so easy just to do those by hand. And then I added 1 by 2 inch paper strips to the top of those. And two-tone tags are super trendy now. So I actually just am going to grab some white tags, and then I'm going to pull in the rosy color again and have a transition strip with the rosy on the transition of the two-tone colors of the tags. Now I'm going to go ahead and mount these and put these strips down, but I'm not going to put adhesive on the bottom torn part because I'm going to want to do some tucking of those tags under there. So I really want to leave that loose, and then I can come back in with the adhesive. While I'm working on this strips, I sure hope you'll take a moment to hit subscribe and the notifications bell so you don't miss any of the future videos in this 5-part series. I hope you'll hit subscribe and make sure to shoot me comments. It really keeps me going on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So working with the strips here and adding in that rosy color, my daughter and her girlfriends, my daughter is a nurse, and Farron's mom here, the birthday girl's mom here, is a friend and nurse that works with my daughter Emily, and they are the queens of theme parties. Now, I had probably created a monster in my daughter, and that I did have theme parties for my children, but it was more simple back then. So, but we did, probably from age 1 to 3, and then we maybe did decades, like 5 years, 10 years, and then Sweet 16, probably 21st birthday. We didn't do all the way through, but my daughter is a whiz at theme parties, and every one of my granddaughters from her family, through all 3 of them, have had theme parties every year, and the oldest in her family is 10. So she has had 10 theme parties with no repetition. And then, of course, there's an 8-year-old and then a 5-year-old as well. So they have all had that's a lot of theme parties. I have a lot of fun birthday parties to scrap. And I don't do the entire thing. I pick some, key photos and I do those. So here you have seen me just put the 1 by 2 bits on top of the 2 by 2.5 inch tags and then put the rosy transition strip. Now, depending on your photos, you don't need to add rosy to this workshop at all. Let's say you have a different contrast color. Maybe you're even using a blue or a brown. Browns would go with love notes so well. Brown family photos, there's so many things that could go with love notes that doesn't have to be juvenile. I just decided to draw on the teddy bears on this one because I don't really do a ton of lovey-dovey Valentine. I do quirky things for my husband, and I make up a funny little Valentine, for his present, but we're not real big. Like if I do a single page or a double page for Valentine's Day, that's really all I need. But the colors in this lend itself to birthday, to Valentine's, to date night, to girlfriends being together. I mean, you could even do, like I said, family photos with browns and tans in the background would really pop against these reds. So the theme of this series has been texture. And this is a lot of white space. So I wanted to pull in a little bit of texture on that white space. Now there's so many things that you could do. I pulled in these lattice grids that I made on the Cricut, and I could do stenciling underneath that. I could just do inking and pull in that rosy color and do a little blending with the blending brush and some inking behind that lattice. I could pop up that lattice with foam tape. All of those would be gorgeous ideas. But even though this isn't a Simply Scrappin' workshop, my Simply Scrappin' workshops are defined by not having Cricut cuts and not having thin cuts or stamping. But it has really simple elements to it, very simple backgrounds with nothing to them. So I think they could lend themselves to somebody who wants a pretty simple background, and you could add stickers and other elements if you didn't want to add Cricut cuts. I did consider pulling texture in with these Scarlet tags that in the first video, we created a scarlet background by adding texture by scoring, and I have some bits and pieces left of that, but I do think we need to keep bringing in Rosie. So I'm going to actually maybe make a couple tags out of Rosie. I'm not sure how I'm going to organize the tags up at the top, and I do want to talk a little bit about my inspiration. But first, we're pulling in the envelopes from the Love Notes collection, and I just wanted to show you on the Love Notes how I created that envelope. And then there's a little seal for the back of the envelope that is a stamp and a thin cut, and I thought that was adorable. And I think this would be a great spot to be able to bring in that Rosie tag, since tags is kind of a theme for this. Now, I saw, and I don't quote me on this, but I will link it in the description, kind of a general inspiration for this layout. I saw a fall layout that was using sort of tags in this manner with the torn strips at the top, and I believe it was from Simple Stories. I don't remember there being a watermark on the photo, but it was in their inspiration gallery, and it was actually a fall layout, and I will link that. That's sort of how I got my jumping off point, and then a combination of layouts that I've already done as well. But I think we need to add a tiny edge on the photo mat, and it'll just draw out that rosy color. So I have 4 1/8 by 6 1/8 on a 4x4 photo of Ramsey Kate, and then I have 4.5 by 6.5 of the Love Notes teddy bear paper, which I think that'll just add some added interest over there. And then the texture. So on the fall layout that I saw, they actually just had a pattern paper in the background, but it was one of those pattern papers that kind of reminds me of texture, that it had a little bit of texture built right into the pattern. And so that's where I got the idea to add Lattice. And for some reason, I don't know why, but it seems like I use Lattice a lot around Valentine's Day, like with reds. Like, I'm not sure why, but a white lattice fence or a white lattice rail sometimes just reminds me of love, of flowers. I'm not exactly sure why. So another really big trend right now is kind of like photo collage. So where you have a variety of sizes of photos instead of being boxy. So instead of having all of the photos the same size, I've got a 4x6 vertical, a 3x4 horizontal, and 2 3x3s that I would love to balance. Now, I feel like this is going to be necessary to do the 1/8 inch all the way around those. So 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then 2 that are 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 to get those photo mats on those photos on the right, because again, we're problem solving with the Rosie. But I also love having plain photo mats around most of the photos and then popping up and highlighting one photo with a little bit of pattern paper background, because we're really not using anything complicated in terms of the pattern paper here. On this layout, we've got the strips on the top and the bottom is the only pattern paper, and then we're drawing in the colorful patterns on the tags, and then we'll draw in the colorful patterns on the photo mat. So I have a 3.5 by 3.5 of the ballerina dot on that, and I thought it might be fun to highlight Ramsey again, because she's over on the left looking like the little old lady, her face. I think it's so funny. And then she's sacked out over on the right, and she is the youngest in the party. So I thought that was kind of cute. I may or may not draw in another tag over there. Now, let's talk journaling. So I have these 2 little Cricut notepads, and I'm going to actually journal on my Avery labels. So I use a lot of Avery labels, and they identify the labels with a number. And if you go to www.avery.com, it's free to have an account. You sign up for an account, and you can enter any number of Avery label, and they will give you a template to go ahead and fill out those labels. They'll also give you tons of labels to choose from that have decorative elements on them. And then I'm just going in and I've just typed on half of those labels. Those are 2x4 labels, and my tag is 2 by 2.5. Now, I did want to show you really quickly here the non-stick scissors. And this is one of the reasons that I totally use our micro tip nonstick scissors because that sticky will not, I don't know why I'm sorry, I'm getting out of focus here a little bit. I actually will pop on here again in just a little bit and show you that since I kind of fuzzed out here a little bit, but it's perfect. So I will use white labels, clear labels. I'll also type on vellum. I do a lot of writing on our journal sticker strips. I will write or type directly onto cardstock. There are so many ways to journal that are so fun. I do journal on tags a lot, and I think that's fun. I love the little notes in the envelopes now. I do think I'll have to do some sort of a fun filler in the envelope, like something popping out on the bottom for the blank space. I didn't want the words to go down so far that the words wouldn't show. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to arrange the tags, but I sort of want them to be arranged so that they're a filler in the nooks and crannies. So we have some great focal pieces. We have the focal photo with Ramsey Kate. Those envelopes are kind of a large, focal, cute, adorable piece there. There's a lot of boxy going on, so we may want to add some rounded bits. And I have plenty of rounded bits to use, but I think I love the idea of pulling in some of these adorable little banners. I don't anticipate using the bear theme on any more layouts in this series, so I would kind of like to be able to use up the bits and pieces that have that bear theme with it and go all out on this layout because that's what this theme will be. So I think I could add, oh my goodness, and this is so perfect, the little champagne flutes. So the girls had sparkling cider in champagne flutes, and they just had, it was really special and bubbly, and they thought that that was so fun. And so there's that little champagne flute banner, and the other banners, the teddy bear banner and the berry sweet banner. And then there's this cute little bear, which I thought somehow, I'm not exactly sure if I'll be able to get it to incorporate or not, but since Ramsey Kate is sacked out, I thought maybe I could incorporate that bear sticker over on that side somehow. And of course, possibly getting the tag element there. I think I'm going to have with those tags at the upper left, on the left page, that's a nice cluster area, and then a huge cluster in the middle there by the focal photo. So in order to get my visual triangle to close, I will probably need something, even if it's a little something up in that upper right. I will have the tags in the on the lower right page, which is not really a triangle, but it still draws your eye over the whole left page to come over. So I think you're kind of getting closure there. So maybe just a little something, something up in that upper right-hand corner. I keep kind of toggling back between the layouts. And I know some people will do the entire left page all at once, and then they'll do the entire right page. And I have a tendency to go back and forth. I hope it doesn't drive people crazy, but one of the reasons I go back and forth is subconsciously I'm getting balance. I'm doing color balance, object balance, I'm getting triangles, I'm getting color, and it's just sort of a subconscious thing that I've always done. So it's kind of like, or not always done, not when I started in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even know if I still know what I'm doing, but I've learned a little bit more about balance. I didn't always have balance in my first pages. I just kind of put things where I felt like putting them and kind of slapped them down, and I was like, that's memory keeping, and it really is. You can do whatever you want, but I sort of learned a little bit about, let's put some of similar icons, maybe on a diagonal across the two pages. Let's at least balance it with a cluster on the left and a cluster on the right. Let's make sure that you have some similar colors in each of the clusters. If we're going to draw in some of the rosy colors on the left, we need to draw in some of the rosy colors on the right. Now, when I first started working on this, I was like, whoa, like I put the rosy robe photos on the page with just love notes. And I was like, ooh, clashy clash. Like this is not working at all. And just those tiny little strips, the little 1/8 inch strip at the top, the 1/8 inch strips on the tags, the tiny 1/8 inch borders around the photos made all the difference in the entire world. Like I look at this now and and there's nothing that's stopping my eye. Everything is pleasing. I'm not like, whoa, like that color is terrible. It just really, really blends. So I encourage you, whatever your photos are for these, that make your strips something that will draw out the colors in your photos, especially if your photos don't coordinate exactly with the love notes, or they're a little clashy with the love notes. Sometimes an opposite color is perfect for a paper pack like this. So you don't want them to match. You want them to complement, right? A color that's complementing. If you want to go to our color book, we have two versions of the book of color. We had an upgrade that was added to it. But if you look up any color, so if I wanted to look up rosy, or if I wanted to look up candy apple or scarlet and find some coordinating or contrasting colors, that color book is great. So if you have photos that have, any complementary color, and ironically, browns are great for love notes. And so if you have colors that have browns or even scenery, it might seem like an unlikely combination, but it'll actually work really great. Now I have to soften. We've got a lot of sharp edges. We've got a lot of rectangles. So I want to soften with some circles. So the little stitched scallop circles I created on the Cricut. We have the round stickers. We have a whole section of round stickers. Of course, I will probably want those circles to come around so there's not an empty chunk, underneath that white envelope. And I definitely want to tuck some little flower stickers into the journaling in there. And I always will be coming back in for finishing touches. I think that if there's anything that I learned in the beginning is do the little finishing touches that just take a couple seconds to do. So for example, putting something, whether it be string or a dot or a little icon on the holes of your tags or in the holes of your tags, adding your little clusters of bling, maybe adding a little string, just making sure that everything is finished. If you're using buttons, you want to probably run a little string through your buttons, or you want to maybe put a little bling or a sticker on top of your buttons. All of those little teeny tiny details add up to big wow, and they really take just a few minutes to do at the end. So now I'm working on the clusters, my favorite part, and I will definitely conserve whatever I tuck over here under the envelopes. I'll snip parts of those off to be able to use on the opposite side. Now, what I love about our two-tone cardstock is I was able to snip part of that scallop circle, and then I could turn part of it over on the other side and really soften up this corner a little bit. And of course, we'll come back in and we'll add some finishing touches over in that little blank corner, but you can't probably see it on the video as well as I can in person, but the texture of the lattice grid on the background is absolutely perfect. I'm getting happier now, but I have a little bit of fussing to do over here on the right to add some finishing touches. Like I'm not quite getting the rosy tag to do what I want it to do. It seems a little clunky, so I may take the little journaling that I have and put that on a white tag. And I actually wanted to cut again with my nonstick scissors because when I tried to do it earlier in the video, it was blurring out and I was fumbling a little bit, but you can see how easy that cuts. And I absolutely love my microtip scissors for that reason, my nonstick microtip scissors. Now, I used to have a pair of the regular microtip scissors, but honestly, I use only the nonstick because it never fails. Like I used to put a ribbon on my scissors that were for sticky things, or a ribbon on my stickers that were for soft things like ribbon, because I didn't want to cut with jagged scissors, And now I just use my nonstick micro tip scissors for every single thing. That's my go-to. So I don't want to discourage anyone from using our regular scissors. They're great too, but I figure why not just have the nonstick for everything, because they cut beautifully, they have a fine point, and they don't stick. So I was kind of contemplating pulling in a different shape, like the stars. And then I'm like, come on, this is sweet. This is hearts all the way. Like sometimes I get tired of using some of the same shapes, like always hearts, 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 hearts. And I have a lot of people who are my paper crafters who have boys and they're like, hearts again. We need hexagons, we need stars. But this is all out heart. This is all about the heart. So I had some heart stickers that I'm going to add on the lower left in a little cluster of 3. And then I have the finishing touches here, and I'm getting happy. I'm always getting happy at this part. Everything came together. I liked adding those little bits of the cut off leftover scallop circles over on the right to help make some rounded corners on the right. I love the photo collage. I love how the tiny little strips solved our color problem, and I love all the texture with the grid. So I think we solved our problems. I think we solved the texture and color issues, and I am happy. So we have a nice little almost visual triangle. It doesn't quite close, but we have those hearts that can draw up, and then we also have the tags on the lower right that can draw our eye across. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope the problem solving sparked some ideas for you and how you can use some maybe non-likely photos with a series that you absolutely think goes with your photos otherwise by adding in color strips of coordinating or contrasting colors. Again, I hope you'll hit subscribe, the notifications bell, and you'll shoot me a comment because your comments are what drive me to keep that content coming. Thank you so much, everyone. And up next will be part 3 in the 5-part Love Notes series, and we'll be creating another 2-page layout. We're going to create 5 2-page layouts in all in the Love Note series. So be sure you're subscribed and ready to go for part 3 in the 5-part series. Thanks for sharing the love of paper crafting with me, and have a wonderful day. Happy scrapping. Bye bye.